What if I told you that the moment you stop touching yourself, your body doesn't just grow older, it starts to quietly shut down? Your heart slows, your memory fades, your muscles weaken, and something in your spirit begins to dim, like the lights of a house no one lives in anymore. This doesn't happen all at once. No, aging is clever. It hides behind little things, a forgotten name, a missed step, a day when you wake up and feel like you've become a guest in your own body. I once sat with a 74-year-old man, once a builder, strong as steel, but he spoke like a shadow. "Doc," he whispered. I stopped touching myself. I thought it was the right thing to do, dignified. But I didn't realize I was turning off my own light. This isn't about lust or shame or youth. It's about vitality, circulation, hormones, clarity, hope. You've been told that giving up intimacy is what aging gracefully looks like. But what if that idea is costing you more than you know? Stay with me, because in the next few minutes I'm going to show you the surprising science behind solitary sexual activity after 60 and how something as simple as gentle, mindful touch could be the key to preserving your strength, your mind, and your spirit. You won't just walk away with information, you'll walk away with a new lens on who you are and what you still deserve no matter your age. Most older men don't decide to let themselves fade. They do it because they think it's the right thing to do. They stop engaging with their bodies. They stop touching themselves. They stop seeking pleasure or sensation or emotional closeness, not because they no longer want it, but because somewhere along the line they were told they shouldn't. That intimacy belongs to the young. That after 60, after 70, after losing a partner or facing changes in the body, the respectable thing to do is let go. Letting go is painted as noble, dignified, a way to age gracefully. But what if I told you this belief, this quiet, silent surrender, is one of the most dangerous lies men are ever taught? I've seen it for decades in my practice. Strong, capable men who spent their whole lives building, leading, protecting, men who carried families, built communities, survived heartbreak, war, and loss. But the thing that broke them wasn't any of those. It was silence, the kind that creeps in slowly. That tells them to never speak about desire again, to never ask, to never explore, to pretend they're not lonely, to believe they're no longer worthy of touch, not even from themselves. And that silence becomes sickness. It starts with small things, a little more fatigue than usual, a few more forgotten words, a quiet emptiness in the mornings. Over time, these small things become everything. Muscle tone fades, circulation slows, testosterone crashes, brain fog creeps in, sleep becomes restless, and worst of all, a man stops recognizing himself in the mirror. But none of this happens because he's old. It happens because the system that keeps a man alive, from his hormones to his nervous system to his sense of emotional connection, was designed to be active, engaged, connected. And when it's not, the decline is not graceful. It's silent, but it is devastating. Here's the truth no one tells you. Self-pleasure isn't a young man's indulgence. It's an older man's survival system. Because sexual activity, even solitary and private, activates your entire being. It triggers the release of testosterone, which preserves your muscle and bone density. It boosts dopamine and oxytocin, helping stabilize mood and support memory. It gets blood flowing to areas that otherwise begin to wither from lack of use. And it tells your body, I'm still here, I still matter. The Mayo Clinic published research showing that older men who maintain sexual activity alone or with a partner report better cardiovascular health, stronger immune responses, and significantly lower risks of depression and cognitive decline. Harvard researchers found that men who ejaculate regularly, even just a few times a month, lower their risk of prostate complications, reduce stress markers, and maintain higher neuroplasticity in aging brains. Why? Because the body doesn't stop needing sexual activity, it stops receiving it. Because we've been told to feel shame. Shame is not natural, it was taught, passed down through religion, culture, generational silence. And it's costing men their vitality, one unspoken moment at a time. You might be thinking, but I don't feel that desire anymore. What if the truth is that desire hasn't died but gone dormant? And what if it's not gone, but waiting? Waiting for safety, waiting for permission, waiting for you. When was the last time you felt fully alive? Not just in your head, not in your schedule, but in your body, in the breath beneath your ribs, in the beat of your own heart, in the pulse of something deeper that says, I am still here. Because you are still here. And your body, your spirit, your sense of touch, your right to pleasure, connection, and inner fire, that hasn't expired. It's just been silenced. Let's change that. If you wake up, you sit on the edge of your bed, you stretch, but it's not like before. Your back doesn't just ache, it hesitates. Your knees sound like crumpled paper, and inside you feel something quieter than silence. It's not pain. It's absence. Not of noise, but of connection, of vitality, of the pulse you used to feel not just in your body, but in your soul. And if this feels familiar, I want you to know you're not the only one. Robert was 72 when he sat in my office. He had once been full of stories, jokes, sharp memory, and a handshake that felt like it could break a brick. But that day, his voice was unsteady. His eyes dropped to the floor. He said, I haven't touched myself in over 15 years. I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I was aging with grace, but I feel like I'm disappearing. He described how the stairs felt taller. His muscles didn't respond like they used to. He forgot little things. He hadn't felt desire in so long that he started to wonder if it ever really existed. And yet when he said it, his lip trembled, his body remembered. The ache in his voice told me everything. The fire hadn't died, it had been buried. Then there's Harold, a former Marine. Even in his late 60s, his grip was strong, but his spirit? Wounded. He whispered, I guess that part of my life is over. He believed his manhood was gone, not because of illness or injury, but because no one had ever told him the truth. He thought the absence of erections meant the end of everything. But it wasn't the body that betrayed him, it was misinformation. And George. He lost his wife and decided that intimacy was done too. It felt wrong, he said, selfish. So he stopped. At first it was fine, but the nights got longer. The house grew quieter, and the man who used to sing to his wife while washing dishes now stared at the wall, wondering where the color in life had gone. He tried everything, gardening, volunteering, even joined a chess group. But nothing touched that silent ache, the place inside where joy once echoed. These aren't just stories, these are truths millions of older men carry in silence. They don't talk about it, they don't complain, they just fade. Slowly, quietly, respectfully. But here's the thing, respect doesn't mean disappearance. Dignity doesn't mean disconnecting from your body. What you're feeling isn't weakness, it's human. You were built for connection, for touch, for circulation, sensation, closeness, even if that closeness begins with yourself. And the truth is, there's nothing broken in you. There's just a part of you that hasn't been seen, heard, or touched in a long time. You don't have to say it out loud, you don't have to explain it to anyone, but inside, if some part of you whispered yes while hearing this, then maybe that's the part of you worth listening to. Because you're not alone, and you're not too far gone. You're just waiting to come back. Let's break the silence now. Let's strip away the myths, the shame, the quiet nods from doctors who never asked, the religious whispers that called it wrong, the cultural silence that left you confused. Because here's the truth. Masturbation in older men is not shameful, it is not indulgent, it is not embarrassing, it is biological maintenance. It is hormonal protection. It is blood flow, brain health, emotional grounding, muscle preservation, sleep restoration. It is survival. Every time you engage in self-pleasure, even gently, even without climax, you're doing far more than just feeling good. You're activating your vascular system, delivering oxygen-rich blood to the brain, the heart, the pelvic region. You're keeping tissues alive that would otherwise begin to dry, harden, weaken, or even atrophy with disuse. You're telling your nervous system, we're still here, we still matter. And when you do reach climax, you're flooding your body with powerful neurochemicals that support mental clarity, emotional balance, and cellular regeneration. Testosterone rises, helping you preserve muscle mass and bone density. Dopamine surges, elevating your mood and motivation. Oxytocin, commonly known as the bonding hormone, helps ease anxiety and deepen your sense of connection, even in solitude. Endorphins, your body's natural painkillers, soothe joints, relax tension, and help you sleep. All of this from an act most men have been taught to give up. Harvard researchers published a study that shocked even fellow clinicians. Men over 60 who engaged in sexual activity, including solo activity, at least twice a week, showed significantly better cardiovascular markers, clearer memory scores, and lower risk of depression compared to those who abstained completely. A Finnish longitudinal study tracking men from age 55 to 75 found that regular ejaculation, even as infrequent as once every 2 weeks, reduced the risk of prostate cancer by up to 33%. That's not a theory, that's data. Another paper from the Mayo Clinic in 2020 linked solitary sexual activity in older adults to improved immune function, better sleep quality, and increased hormonal stability. But science alone doesn't change lives. You need to feel this in your bones. Imagine this, your body is like a garden. When you stop watering it, the soil dries, the roots shrink, the life within goes dormant. Self-pleasure is not about indulgence. It's hydration, circulation, nourishment. And, unlike in youth, it's not about performance, it's about reconnection. Forget the myths. You don't need a perfect erection to feel pleasure. You don't need to perform to release what your body needs. Orgasm and erection are not the same thing. You can feel deep, fulfilling, healing release through soft, slow, even, non-penetrative touch. The pathways of sensation remain alive, sometimes even more sensitively with age. The goal now is not to chase climax, it's to stay alive inside your own skin. That's what Frank discovered. He was 68, a retired firefighter, big hands, wide shoulders, but a tired spirit. He came to me and said, "I thought this was over. I thought that part of me had shut down." We talked about circulation, hormones, pelvic health, but the moment that changed him wasn't clinical. It was when I said, "What if you're not broken? What if you're just waiting to be awakened again?" He cried, not because he was weak, but because for the first time, someone told him the truth. Your body hasn't given up on you. It's waiting for permission, waiting for connection, waiting for you to stop apologizing for being alive. The fire is not gone, it's under ash. And the moment you touch yourself, not with shame, but with reverence, you start to feel the heat again. Not because you're chasing youth, but because you're reclaiming presence. This is not about going back. It's about returning to yourself. Alan was 71 when he finally said the words out loud. "I thought I was doing what a good man should do." He sat across from me, a quiet man, once a high school teacher, respected, loved by generations of students, a man whose mind had once lit up rooms with history, wit, and warmth, but now he looked smaller than his chair. His hand stayed in his lap. His voice trembled. "I stopped touching myself in my 50s, he said. "I thought that part of me had no place in this chapter of life. I thought if I kept going, I'd look pathetic, desperate, wrong." So he didn't. He didn't because no one told him he could. Not his doctor. Not his wife, long gone. Not his friends. Not even his own mind, which had learned to equate silence with maturity. He filled his days with volunteering, mentoring, and being a grandfather. He smiled in photos. But behind that smile was a man quietly unraveling. And one afternoon, sitting alone in his kitchen, something inside him broke. He realized he hadn't felt anything in years. Not hunger, not joy, not even sadness. Just numbness, just distance from his own skin. "I don't recognize myself anymore," he whispered. "I used to feel proud. Now I feel invisible." And the truth is, he had disappeared. Not physically, but emotionally, spiritually, energetically. Like many older men, he had followed the silent script handed to him by a world that fears aging and punishes desire after 60. But what if there was another script? One where aging didn't mean shrinking, one where growing older meant growing deeper, where your body, though different, was still yours, still worthy of feeling, of being touched, of being cherished by others or by you. What if coming back to yourself wasn't foolish, but courageous? What if the most radical thing you could do at this age was stop apologizing for being human? Maybe the challenge isn't about changing everything. Maybe it's about stopping the quiet exit you didn't even realize you were making. Here's the moment that changed Alan. One night, instead of brushing off the strange tug of emotion in his chest, he followed it. He ran a warm bath, dimmed the lights, took slow, conscious breaths. And for the first time in decades, he laid a hand on his own body, not with urgency, not with shame, but with gentle curiosity. He didn't chase anything, he didn't force anything. He just showed up for himself. And when he looked in the mirror afterward, he cried. Not because he was sad, but because he finally saw someone looking back. So now I want to ask you something quietly, respectfully. When did you start disappearing? When did you begin fading from your own life? Not all at once, but moment by moment. The day you stopped singing in the shower. The day you turned off the music you used to love. The day you folded up the towel and said, I guess those days are over. But if they're not, what if this isn't the end? What if tonight you gave yourself permission to come back? Not with guilt, not with shame, but with presence. The presence to feel your own warmth. The courage to reconnect with your breath, your skin, your sensation. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be young. You just need to begin again. And so I asked, not as a doctor, but as someone who sees you, will you stay in the room with yourself? Will you listen to what your body has been trying to say for years? Will you dare to feel again? Because maybe the man you're missing most is still right here, waiting. Let's take everything we've uncovered so far and do the one thing no one expects you to do at this stage of life. Begin again. You don't need to wait until you feel ready. You don't need perfect health, perfect mobility, or perfect confidence. You just need willingness. And what I've found over and over again in my patients is that once they begin, softly, consistently, with intention, their body remembers. Your body is wiser than you think. It's not holding a grudge. It's not punishing you for the years of neglect. It's just waiting for you to return. That's why I created something I call the restoration practice. It's not a program. It's not a chore. It's a gentle rhythm, just 2 or 3 times a week, that helps older men safely reconnect with their body, their breath, their circulation, and their capacity for intimate vitality. It's simple, it's quiet, it's private. And it works. Step 1 is preparation. Choose a space where you feel safe. It could be your bedroom, your bathroom, even your favorite recliner with the door closed. Dim the lights, turn off distractions. Warm the room if needed. Have a towel nearby. And if you experience dryness or discomfort, invest in a high-quality silicone-based lubricant. This will help reduce friction and make everything smoother and more enjoyable. Step 2 is relaxation. Before you touch anything, just breathe. 10 slow, deep breaths. Inhale through your nose for 4 seconds. Exhale through your mouth for 6. Do it until your shoulders soften, your jaw unlocks, your chest expands. This isn't foreplay, it's nervous system regulation. You're teaching your body it's okay to be here. It's okay to feel. Step 3 is awakening. Before moving to your genitals, explore the rest of your body. Your chest, your thighs, your neck, your arms. Not to stimulate, but to notice. Where do you feel sensation? What parts of you respond to soft touch? Which areas feel numb and which come alive? There's no right or wrong here, only discovery. Step 4 is focused touch. Only now, gently and curiously begin to touch your genitals. There's no goal, no race, no pressure to perform. Try 3 different techniques, as many of my patients have found success with them. First, the palm embrace. Wrapping your hand gently around your penis with soft, slow strokes. Not fast, not hard, just rhythm and presence. Second, the fingertip spiral. slightly tracing slow circles around the head, waking up the most sensitive nerve endings. Third, the root massage, applying firm, steady pressure with your knuckles or fingertips to the space between your scrotum and anus. This stimulates blood flow to the pelvic floor and strengthens essential muscles for bladder control and sexual response. Step 5 is integration. When you finish, whether with climax or not, don't rush to clean up and move on. Feel your breath. Notice the warmth in your chest, in your thighs, in your groin. Place your hand over your heart and say quietly, "Thank you." Not to anyone else, just to your body. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for still being here. You can journal afterward if you'd like. One sentence is enough. I felt, or I remembered, or I stayed with myself. Do this 2 or 3 times a week. You don't have to do the full practice every time. Some days it might just be the breathing. Other days, just exploration. You are allowed to adapt. Now, here are a few tips for success. If you have arthritis, try this. After a warm shower, your joints will be more flexible and forgiving. If you're on ED medications, schedule your session to coincide with their peak effect, usually 30-60 minutes after taking them. The ideal times? Morning between 9 to 11 a.m. when testosterone naturally peaks, or evening between 5 to 7 p.m. when the body begins to relax and open up. And here's a gentle challenge. If you're ready to try even just the first 2 steps, type the word present in the comments. Why present? Because that's what this practice is really about. Not performance, not youth, not fantasy, but presence, to be present with your own body, to stay in the moment, to listen to what you feel without running, rushing, or numbing out. Because the moment you choose to stay, something begins to shift. And in that shift, you don't just reclaim sensation. You reclaim self. What if letting go of touch wasn't aging, but disappearing? What if the moment you stopped reaching for yourself, the world stopped reaching back? It sounds dramatic, but I've seen it too many times to call it anything else. I think of Leonard. He was 78 when he came to me. His blood work was stable, his heart was strong, his cholesterol numbers looked fine. But none of those tests captured the heaviness in his eyes, the hollow pause between his words, the way he looked out the window like he was watching a world he no longer felt part of. "I don't feel broken," he said quietly. "I just feel gone." He hadn't had sex in over a decade, hadn't touched himself in nearly as long, not because he didn't want to, but because it hadn't even occurred to him that he still could. He lived alone. The TV was always on, the phone rarely rang, and in the quiet, something within him had begun to fade. Not just desire, but the will to keep waking up with purpose. That's what no one tells you. The cost of giving up your sensuality isn't just physical weakness. It's emotional isolation. And once that isolation sets in, it doesn't just steal your pleasure, it slowly drains your vitality, your memory, your motivation, your sense of self. But here's what changed everything for Leonard. He didn't take a miracle supplement. He didn't go on a retreat. He just started reconnecting, slowly, gently, with the skin he'd long forgotten. At first it felt awkward, but one morning, something shifted. He stood in front of the mirror, he placed his hand on his chest, then on his lower belly, and for the first time in years, he didn't flinch. He didn't apologize. He didn't rush away. He looked himself in the eyes and said, "You're still here." Those 3 words became his anchor. Because the truth is, you are still here, even if you've been silent, even if the world hasn't seen you in a while, even if you've felt left behind. You are not too late. Your body hasn't given up on you. Your spirit hasn't expired. That quiet fire inside you, it isn't gone. It's just been waiting for you to believe it's worth lighting again. So what happens now? That part is yours to write. But I'll leave you with this. You don't need to chase who you used to be. You don't need to reclaim some version of yourself from the past. You only need to stay present with the man you are right now. One who's still breathing, still curious, still capable of joy, pleasure, tenderness, and connection. Still worthy. So tonight, before you go to bed, ask yourself, not with judgment, but with honesty, what is one thing I can do, however small, to stay alive in my own body? Maybe it's 10 deep breaths. Maybe it's 5 minutes of warm touch. Maybe it's simply saying out loud, I want to come back. Whatever it is, choose it. Then let that choice become your quiet revolution. And if any part of this message touched something inside you, if you feel seen, understood, invited back into your own life, I invite you to share one small thing you'll begin doing differently starting tonight. Not for me, not for the algorithm, but for you, because your life is not over. Your story is not done. The next chapter has yet to be written, and you are still holding the pen.